Welcome to the Alabama Family Rights Association, Reform Alabama Family Law television program. I'm Michael Polomeni.
And I'm Chris Hobbs.
Alabama Family Rights Association is a grassroots organization consisting of moms, dads, grandparents, family, and friends. We have been successful in passing legislation to protect your rights to your children. Our goal is to reform Alabama family law and provide better protection for our families and children's rights. Children need both parents even after divorce.
The Alabama Family Rights Association is proud to present the Family Law Reform Network television program. I know you'll enjoy it. Let's take a look.
We have another insightful show ahead. Stanley, I can't wait to get started. Let's begin.
In this episode of our show, we are pleased to present Christina Hoff Summers. Ms. Summers is a researcher who writes about issues such as culture and contemporary moral theory. We are delighted and honored to present Christina Hoff Summers.
First thing that has to be done is that we have a very, very serious problem with ideology and propaganda in our women's studies curriculum. I mean, people talk about the madrasas in the Middle East and these dangerous teachings, and they are there, and they were very worrisome. This is a bit of an overstatement, but not by much. We have feminist madrasas with dangerous teachings. And by that I mean they really do teach young women, especially sensitive young women. They come in and take these courses. They care about being a force for goodness in the world, and they're upset when they hear about injustice. And then they're given these false statistics about how 1 in 3 women is raped and half of the women are battered, and it increases 40% on Super Bowl Sunday, and women are being cheated out of their raises if they're not already dead from anorexia nervosa. So a young woman learns this, that women are so much at risk and so just preyed upon by men. She could easily become a male averse, to put it kindly, a misandrist, that's comparable to a misogynist. When I was writing Who Stole Feminism, there was things happening in our schools, like the University of Maryland, where in this feminist art class, the girls published posters all over the school. One morning, they just appeared, saying, "Warning, these men are potential rapists." And they had listed the name of just innocent boys, names they had found in the school directory. And so that's the kind of poisonous environment. An innocent young boy, think of this as your brother or your son, or could just go to school that day and see his name as a potential rapist. Well, how would the girls like it if, warning, these girls are potential, child attackers or something? They wouldn't like it, but they are not sensitive to that. Their class had taught them to be very bigoted towards men. So we live in an environment now, because of this propaganda, because all of the activism is around women's victimization and very little about men. There are girls that feel they can go to this play, The Vagina Monologues, that has some good things about it, and people enjoy it, but overall it is poisonously anti-male, and yet people don't see that. So I think we've created a dangerously, kind of toxic environment for boys on our campuses, in our schools, and we have to become aware of that, have to raise consciousness about it and correct it.
In this clip, we hear our guest speak very boldly about what she describes as a very, very serious problem, and that is the toxic, dangerous, even poisonous anti-male sentiment that seems to permeate so many of our institutions. She concludes with a call to action that says we need to raise awareness and correct this, and that's exactly why our show exists.
That's right, Molly, and we truly hope that this show will help raise your awareness of this subtle contempt for men. These feminist madrasas with 15 million college students on our campuses reach literally millions of students each and every year with this contempt, this loathing for men, all things men.
And there's a word for that. Christina Hoff Summers introduces the word misandry. Some of our audience may not have heard that word before, but it is defined as, specifically in the dictionary, as contempt of men, as hatred towards men, resulting in an overall disdain for men in all actions and behaviors.
And there's no doubt that the radical feminists embrace that, they live it, and that concept is best described in an outstanding book entitled Legalizing Misandry by researchers Paul Nathanson and Catherine K. Young. In it, they describe how misandry has taken hold in our culture, and they say, the doctrine of radical feminism has introduced so quickly, so cleverly, and so subtly that most citizens, including most lawyers and legislators, have not even recognized what has been happening. That's so true.
It is true. We're fortunate, I think, that our society is thankfully in a place where we recognize when a joke is in poor taste or a comment is not acceptable because it is degrading towards women or minorities, and yet our society has not embraced the same gender neutrality when those comments are discriminatory or offensive against men.
Yes, and it's certainly permeated our family court policies and procedures, and you see it in child custody with this universal application of the lopsided custodial, non-custodial model that discriminates against men for no reason. In legalizing misandry, they say, today simply being a divorced father instantly subjects you to being treated with contempt by your state government. State agencies universally regard mothers as their customer to serve and protect, and fathers as forced supplier, not gender-neutral parents of the same children.
That comment is again another very bold comment that describes what people are facing in family court and why we're working so hard to change the discrimination and bigotry against men in family court. Well, that was wonderful to have this discussion, and I'm looking forward to more, as I'm sure our audience is as well. Please stay tuned. Thanks for joining us on Family Law Reform Network TV. Please stay with us.
Truth, justice, and the American way. In America's courts of law, the American way is all about truth and justice. Not so in America's family courts. What's happened? After being an attorney for well over 20 years, I can answer that question. America's family courts have forgotten the Constitution and the rule of law. The bad news is that in every state across America, there are thousands and thousands of parents just like you who share your anger and frustration. But that's the good news too, because across America, there are millions of parents who are organizing to make a difference in this system. Contact the organization near you that speaks for parents and children. When you bring your voice and join with those who are already organized, you will make a difference, and it will make a difference that will forever change the life of you and your child. We're waiting to hear from you.
You are watching Family Law Reform Network TV, a public service for children and families across America.
I think the first thing to know is there is a lot of anti-male bias in the country, and to be aware of it, just as we had our click moments as feminists and we understood about misogyny and chauvinism, it can go the other direction, women towards men, and to be aware of that. And as I said, a lot of us became feminists because we didn't like injustice and prejudice and bullies, and those very same motives should lead us to repudiate forms of feminism, gender feminism, that are grounded on mistrust of men and eager to believe the worst about men. I think we need a little more goodwill towards men.
Christina Hoff Sommers noted that she got involved with the women's movement when she didn't like prejudice and injustice and bullies hurting women. America's family courts make non-custodial parents out of both women and men, but mostly men. And they don't like it when prejudice and injustice bully them into being non-custodial.
Why is it okay to deny a fit parent meaningful time to nurture their children? Why is it okay to strip a father of custody and artificially label them a non-custodial parent? Why is it okay that we require children to forfeit one parent? We're saying that is not okay. And the solution is equal shared parenting, and we need to remove this unwarranted government intrusion in the family.
Christina Hoff Sommers referred to the click moment that she had. It's that moment when you suddenly realize injustice that's so intolerable you just have to get involved and put a stop to it. Every fit parent in family court has a click moment when they're declared non-custodial and they feel the real impact of being stripped of their child. But that's only the beginning of the horror.
We hear about those click moments on a regular basis. I received an email from a father going through divorce in the early stages. A guardian ad litem was assigned to the case and met with both parents and the children. The guardian ad litem came back, who's supposed to be acting in the best interest of the children, guardian ad litem came back to the father and said, the kids like both parents and both of you are good parents. This is difficult for me. I'm going to have to take this back to my committee of colleagues to decide who I'm going to take custody away from. I received a voicemail from a crying grandmother. The custodial mom refuses to let the dad have any contact with the children, which means this paternal grandmother can have no relationship with her grandkids. And yet I hear a local county attorney testify. She's in charge of this bureaucracy, and yet she says, what's the harm?
There is no end to the victims. There is no end to these stories, Molly. And in both of those examples, those problems were created by this custodial, non-custodial model. The solution to that problem is a legal presumption of equal shared parenting, which gives equal respect and dignity to both parents. The real solution to the problem for these children and these parents and literally millions of others is when you get involved, when you decide to require equity, fairness, and respect for both fit parents from America's family courts.
Don't let another parent or child go through this anguish. If you have a heart for children, won't you make family law reform a priority in your life? Thanks for joining us on Family Law Reform Network TV. Please stay with us.
The Alabama Family Rights Association includes fathers, mothers, grandparents, and children who have experienced the tragedy of custody disputes after divorce. We support the passage of family-friendly legislation designed to ensure that after divorce, children can have meaningful relationships with both parents and extended family. After divorce, children need both parents. Please join Alabama Family Rights Association in fighting for you and your children's rights. If you don't do it, who will? Join us at alfra.org today.
Molly, we've come to the end of another show. We have more great information to share, but we are simply out of time.
The time goes so quickly. Our discussion explains why we are demanding fairness, gender equity, accountability, and change from all our government institutions, but particularly our family courts. Our guest, Christina Hoff Summers, reveals in a very powerful way why parents and extended families are reporting negative experiences in family court and supporting the need for change.
We hope you appreciate the urgency of the need for reform. For all the parents and children trapped in the family court maze, the changes cannot possibly come too soon. Please make family law reform your personal priority, and please tell someone else about our show.
Thank you so much for joining us on our show for the family law reform community, where family and children really matter.
Alabama family law prevents children from being loved by their entire families. The Alabama Family Rights Association is working to reform Alabama family law. Our children deserve two parents, especially after divorce. If you don't do it, who will?
I really love my dad because he taught me how to ride my bike and to swim, and he taught me to never give up.
We hope you enjoyed part 2 of this 2-part series.
Alabama Family Rights Association wants to educate you on our goals to reform Alabama family law.
Please join us as we work to reform Alabama family law.
If you don't do it, who will?
I'm Chris Hobbs.
I'm Michael Polomeni. See you next time.